Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiong. The Ukraine-Russia crisis is posing a major challenge for China on many fronts. For one, Russia and China has forged an ever closer relationship which could be seen at the Beijing Winter Olympics. Mr. Putin was one of only a handful of known world leaders to attend. Significantly, Mr. Putin waited until just after the games were over to recognize the two breakaway regions of Ukraine and send in troops to back them. In today's worldview, Beijing and Moscow are binding together. Now that Russia has invaded Ukraine, where does that leave China's official position as clashes escalate? The Chinese government does not want to be seen to support war in Europe, but also wants to strengthen military and strategic ties with Moscow. Beijing also desires to maintain good relations with Kiev, but this could be difficult to sustain when it is so closely aligned with Russia. There is also the potential for trade blowback on China from Western Europe if it is judged to be backing Russia's aggression. Furthermore, a constant refrain from China's leaders is that it does not interfere in the internal affairs of others and that other countries should not interfere in its internal affairs. However, Russian annexation of portions of Ukraine or invasion and the seizure of Kiev violate China's position that the sovereignty is sacrosanct. These are the conundrum that Beijing is facing, but they are not the most daunting challenges. For the Communist Party, what will worry it the most is where that may leave its own people and their worldview. It wasn't going to be long before Taiwan was dragged into the mix. For this reason, it is manipulating and controlling talk about the Ukraine situation in the press and the social media. In the first few days after the war broke out, anyone seeking news on the latest Russia-Ukraine developments in the Chinese Communist Party mouthpiece, People's Daily, would be disappointed. Its front page and international section were devoid of articles on the conflict gripping the planet. It was reflecting the reluctance of China's leaders to take a clear stance on it. Please be noted, People's Daily primarily reflects consensus within the party leadership. Igor Denisov is a senior research fellow at the Moscow State Institute of International Relations. He said, "The lack of comments from the People's Daily means that discussions are still underway. The prevailing discourse in China was more pro-Russian than in the past and reflected more of Russia's official talking points." However, on China's more freewheeling social media, internet users and prominent nationalist voices offered sympathy for Russian President Vladimir Putin, at times casting doubt on the West's reliability and blaming the NATO for fueling the conflict. The state press has its own accounts on Weibo and controls the responses to its posts about Russia and Ukraine. Here is a flavor of the comments. Putin is awesome. I support Russia, oppose US. That's all I want to say. America always wants to create mess in the world. Chinese nationalists have used Russia's invasion of Ukraine to call on their own nation to follow suit with comments like, "It's the best chance to take Taiwan back now." With the Russian invasion encounters stiff resistance, Beijing knows it could face similar treatment if it moves to seize Taiwan by force, in what could be a bloody, costly exercise. What is worse, Chinese citizens may start connecting the dots with Russia's justification of invading Ukraine and applying it to their own country. This could upend the Chinese government's entire explanation for its current borders. Mr. Putin says he is liberating Russian speakers inside Ukraine. By the same token, what of the ethnic Mongolians, Koreans, Kyrgyz, and the like who are now part of China? More potentially explosive for Beijing. What if Tibet and the Uyghurs renew calls for greater autonomy or even independence? China's communist regime fears this. In terms of Chinese people actually questioning Russia's ambitions in Ukraine, you have to seek out individual Weibo accounts not connected to the party media threads. One writes, "I don't understand why so many people support Russia and Putin. Is invasion to be seen as justice? We should oppose any form of war." According to another, Putin recognizes the independence of Ukraine's separatist regions, which is obviously interfering in the domestic affairs of another country. And there you have it. The last post is expressing precisely the conclusion which Beijing does not want its people coming to. It is the essence of the minefield the Chinese government is walking through. The US wants to pry China away from its partnership with Russia. One step is making Beijing feel pain over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia's full-scale assault on Ukraine is an opportunity to force China to choose between siding with Russia and maintaining valuable economic ties to Europe. Punitive economic measures imposed on Russia, particularly export controls on certain technologies, would potentially hit China if its businesses and banks try to help Moscow, according to the officials. Getting China to lessen support for Russia would further isolate Moscow over Ukraine, reduce the ability of the two to work together on other issues, and call into question Beijing's reliability as a partner. The sanctions and other measures the US and the European allies are assembling against Russia also serve as a signal to Beijing of what it might face if it attacks Taiwan. Escalating sanctions are among the sharpest warning flares to Beijing. The US and the European Union are largely cutting off Russia's financial sector from the Western financial system and ordering freezes of any assets in the West held by Mr. Putin and the members of his inner circle. Export controls enacted by the US, the EU, Japan, and others prohibited the transfer of critical technologies. Last Friday at the United Nations Security Council, Russia vetoed a US-backed resolution requiring Russia to withdraw from Ukraine. China abstained, along with India and the United Arab Emirates. US Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield said the countries that abstained were aligning themselves with the aggressive and unprovoked actions of Russia. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said in Beijing last week, "The truly discredited countries are those that want only interfere in other countries' internal affairs and wage wars in the name of democracy and human rights." Countering China has been the Biden administration's top priority. The Beijing-Moscow partnership presents a geopolitical challenge for the US. Already, the Ukraine conflict has delayed the release of key strategy documents on defense and national security as the administration works through the new challenges. China has been struggling to adjust its public position on Ukraine since the invasion, trying to honor its partnership with Russia while calling for negotiations and reiterating its long-professed principles of national sovereignty and non-interference. China's balancing act has proved difficult on the ground in Ukraine so far. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly.